Hi, everyone. From me, Brent Graham of goodforthegame.co.za. Time for the Handicap Rugby Chat that matters. Well, on tonight's show, we're going to be talking, of course, Rugby Championships, round 5, Australia against New Zealand, Argentina against South Africa. We've got the Currie Cup final, the Lions against the Sharks. I put the URC. I was trying to get a URC guest, someone who'd done a bit of work on the NPC on the show. Probably going to cover that either in the blog on Good for the Game or a separate show, but you never know. Oracle, who is in the studio, may have something up his sleeves. On that note, let me introduce you to him. Kevin, good to see you, mate. Always good to have you on the show, and you and I are flying the flag alone tonight.
Yes, Brent, and welcome everybody, and hello. I have realised that Edwil van der Merwe is a wing and Morne van der Berg is a scrum half since last week's education with Hendrik. So I know that you probably want to talk about the well, I'm going to say this first actually. So I've been asked by 3 mates of mine this week, a few more, but 3 that I definitely had this conversation with. Opening comment, what do you think about the rugby? And I'm going, well, I like the Lions. And they go, but I'm talking about South Africa. And the next one, what do you think about the rugby? Yeah, I like the Lions. I think they'll win by more than 10. I'm talking about South Africa. I'm going, hang on a second. The biggest rugby game this weekend is the Currie Cup final. South Africa sent half a team to Argentina. New Zealanders will smash those Australians in the morning. And I'm sorry, the biggest game this weekend, yes, there's 4 URC games. That don't involve South African teams. Currie Cup final is the biggest game this weekend. That's how I see it.
Right, well, we'll definitely talk about the Currie Cup. I think there's a bit more than 4 URC games. I think I saw betting on 6 of them. But I must say, we can, if anybody in the live chat wants to mention anything on the URC or the Gallagher Premiership, we can. But I just have had one of those weeks. I haven't had a chance to study those. I'm certainly going to have a good look tonight. So we'll focus on what we know, Gav, and see if anyone else comes up with anything. Welcome to the guys in the live chat. Fareed, WJ, Simbo, and Stefan Dubé. Good to have you guys watching us there in the comments section already. Let's go straight into the Rugby Championship. And the first game we'll talk about is Australia against New Zealand, Gavin. Now, this is effectively a dead rubber as far as the Rugby Championship goes. But, of course, these 2 sides play in the Bledisloe Cup. And so this is actually a very, very big game for them in that sense. You want to get off to a winning start. I think it's normally played over 3 legs. I assume it's going to be played over 3 again. We've had a handicap here that has shifted slightly. I would say that there was 13.5 Australia. I look now, it's mainly got 14.5, which of course means it's a bit of money for New Zealand. We've got a points line here of 54.5. This game taking place in Sydney. And I can tell you, did have a look at the weather just before the show. It really looks like it's going to be good weather. And the points line, in fact, one of the bookies came out at 57.5, but everyone's sort of sitting at 54.5 now. I don't see this points line moving too much. And frankly, Gav, I don't see the handicap moving too much either.
So 14 or 54 takes us to 20. So that's 20 for the Australians and 34 for New Zealand. The first thing here is this is not the Sydney Football Stadium or whatever they call it, SFS or whatever it is. It's not the main one. This is another stadium that they haven't used for a while. I'm not sure. Sorry, I didn't recognize the name when I had a look at the fixture list. I'm going to tell you that, sure, Simbo is correct. I'm not putting my entire pension on this. It is a dead rubber, as Brent pointed out. And yes, it's Bledisloe. Apparently, I did a bit of research on this a while ago. The chap's name was Lord Bledisloe, but his name wasn't Bledisloe. So I haven't quite worked out where Bledisloe comes from, the actual word. But yeah, started from the 1930s. I think it's 55-12 or 54-12 in New Zealand's favour, and they haven't won it in the last 18 times. You mentioned they play 3 or 4 times a year. It has most often been 2, and there are the odd year with 3 and 4, and they haven't. They played it regularly since 1982. They played it every year or contested for it every year. But yeah, I think as Sia Khaleesi said, he's seen the Freedom Cup. He's not touched it yet. So yeah, in fact, I'd like to say everybody in this Australian team, including the coach, has never touched this trophy. In fact, most of them weren't even born. Well, they were born around the last time Australia won it. Excuse me. I'm expecting a emphatic New Zealand victory here. I think that they will win this game comfortably. However, a bet I'm going to tip is Australia, New Zealand. So home team up at halftime, away team run away with it in the second half. That's probably around about 7 or 8 to 1. I think there's a bit of value there.
8 to 1.
Yeah, I wouldn't be punting Australia to win this game. I don't think, in fact, I'm not going to say that they're not going to win this game. New Zealand will win this game comfortably. And if they do win by 14 or 15, it's only because Australia have had a decent first half. I'm expecting Australia to come out of the blocks here. They've got nothing to lose. They're at the bottom of the barrel. They're at the bottom of the barrel of tier 1 nations. You rather take a 6, 7, 8 to 1 punt here that you can't go broke. And if you win it, you've got some lunch money for Sunday or dinner, beer money for Saturday night before the South African game at 9 o'clock. Honestly, I expect New Zealand to win comfortably here, but I don't think I think Australia are good enough to put up 30 to 35 minutes of a fight, and then they'll get smashed. So there is a chance they can win the first half. At 7, like I said, 6, 7, 8 to 1. It's good enough value for me. Australia win the first half and New Zealand win the game. That's what I would tip here. And that's what I'm going to punch
right, well, that's a nice type of bet to give you interest, especially if you don't want to get too heavily involved. You can wait for in running or not get that heavily involved at all. I like those half-time, full-time plays, especially when you've got the underdog at half-time. Now, Johan Esthuizen said he's going overs. Both teams can score points. I think there is a good chance of the overs there as well. And it seems like that's where the majority of the guys are leaning. Just to welcome Werner to the show as well. 2M System said Wallabies will fall apart. They're only playing with 2 studs in their boots. Let's see what David said. New Zealand minus. Gavin, looks like a lot of people in agreement here. I'm just going to throw up one cautionary thing. A lot of people were in agreement in last week's Currie Cup on the Lions. The handicap moved by like 4 or 5 points and we got nailed. But I do think that you guys are on the right track on New Zealand. Yes, Gav?
No, well, the first thing I wanted to say is I think it was Johan Esthuizen there saying that both teams will score. What does both teams will score mean? 75-3? Is that both teams to score? You know, that's looking at best in soccer. But I think in rugby it should be something like both teams score 20 plus or both teams score 10 plus. Again, looking out to the people that make prices on these things. That's the kind of thing that we want because yes, both teams to score is almost obvious in a case like this. But you know when you're taking that bet, you want them to score a few points. Anyway, going back to last week,
was making was that both teams are capable of scoring a lot of points in this game. So he likes the.
Of course, absolutely. And in fact, as I said in the first half, I wouldn't be surprised if Australia score 15 points in the first half, win the first half 15-10, 15-12, and then get smashed 50-20, you know, that kind of thing. That's how I'm looking at this game. I do think Australia will come out fighting. They've got nothing to lose. They might as well have a go. New Zealand are more about we need to win this game to hold this trophy and the record that it represents. But I think, you know, New Zealand wins this game by 1, they're happy. They walk away. And they're not going to be rated on this. Australia are, not New Zealand.
Yeah, I don't know.
And David A is correct. There is the odd game that they do take it very close, exactly. You just don't know which one it's going to be.
Well, you'd expect it to be the home. You'd certainly expect it to be the home game. And I tend to look. I must say, I was, looking at the sentiment. I'm certainly thinking. I'm not confident at all on this game. I am thinking I like this team that Australia put out, but I'm guilty of a bit of. And it sounds silly because I'm not an Australian supporter, but I'm guilty of a bit of Aussie bias now and then. I've still got, maybe the team of the '90s still in the head sometimes. But I think Australia can make a game of this. But the problem is, I hate going against New Zealand because, like you say, even if Australia is leading at the break, you're not confident on the handicap still, even if you've got like the plus 14.5, so difficult one. But yeah, I'm certainly going to give this one a little bit more thought. Seen making the point there, New Zealand commentators are bleeding. I actually missed the breakdown this week. I'll have to maybe watch it later on tonight. But yeah, Farid is right as well that this team is not the team of previous years. And yeah, sentiment definitely leaning towards New Zealand. Just want to touch on the points there for a second. Yeah, I must admit, 57.5, I was a bit of a reluctant overs player, but the more I look at this game, good conditions, I do think this is a very important game. Just to stress what I said at the start, I said if this was just a rugby championship game, dead rubber, but definitely not a dead rubber. And when these sides play, there's always something on the line. And I think there's a lot on the line this week because both sides, I mean, New Zealand only lost narrowly to South Africa, but they're hell of a hard on themselves. I mean, there's pressure on that team. And of course, Australia, I mean, given that capitulation against Argentina, even though they won the first match, lead 23 and lose 67-27 was just outrageous. So there's going to be a lot on the line, but sometimes when you put two teams together with a lot on the line, you get a low-scoring game. But these are not those sort of sides. These are the sort of sides you put a lot on the line. They still play their game of rugby. They're going to take their 3 points. And frankly, I've got no problem. When I'm on overs, I want the 3 points taken early. It just accumulates the scoreboard. Obviously not if it's the Griffins playing and the spread's 79.5. You definitely don't want to see 3 points then. But in a game like this, you're quite happy if after 15 minutes, it's 6-6 or something like that. You feel you're right in the points game. So, yeah, interesting one. Anything else to add before we move on to the next game, Gav?
I always like to look at, when you talk about points, and this is often something I've looked at, and you've heard me comment on this on many games in the past. I look at, so points for me is a three-way bet. Sorry, 3-option bet. It's not just points. It's total points. In other words, are both teams going to score? Or is it the home points or the away points? And in this example, although I look, and as I said to you, 54 with a handicap of 14 is, take the 14 off, you've got 40, divide by 2, you've got 20. So Australia has 20, New Zealand has 34. Again, you can round up to 35, 19, whatever you want. But the point is, you've got to say to yourself, are New Zealand more likely to score 35 or more than Australia are to score 21 or more? In other words, to beat the spread, the handicap that they've given themselves for points. And I like Australia, as I said, in the first half. And again, at 7, 6, 7, 8 to 1, even at 6, at 16%, you're risking R1 to get R6. That kind of thing. It's you're not going broke there. I go back to that. I like that bet. But if you're going to go from a points perspective, I'm going to tell you Australia are New Zealand are more likely to score 35 or more than Australia are to score 21 or more. So if you're a points punter, I'm going to tell you go over on New Zealand rather than going over on the total. I don't like the total because there's always a weaker team, and if you and I'm going to talk to the audience here and the Hundreds of the world. You're taking a total, you're taking both teams to underperform if you're going under, both teams to perform if you're going over. I think the skill is in finding the team that's actually going to be outperforming it. And not only that, but the upside versus the downside. For me, New Zealand score 35 or more 7 out of 10 times, and Australia score 20 or more, 21 or more 3 out of 10 times. So for me, I would rather go over New Zealand points here and not over total points.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I like the 3 options. And I've noticed that there are certain bookies out there that, for example, will price up the total points line as fairly like 9 to 10 the pair. That they'll initially price up the single points for a team at a shorter price. Yeah. And I mean, it is at the end of the day when I do tend to back one team quite often because you're pretty clear on what you're shouting for and you shout at home. The debate that debate you mentioned there, I go through that in my mind quite often, and then often I get to the other side and I go, why don't I just back the damn handicap? Because if you know what I'm saying, that is suggesting that the handicap's the value. So yeah, no, I like your logic there. New Zealand will score 35 or more. We'll leave you with the last word, Steve, on that game before we head into the next one, and that of course is Argentina up against South Africa. Now, Gav, we've got a handicap here of 10.5. There was 12.5. Now, we'll disagree with let's say your one comment is a bit exaggerated about sending half a team. I actually think South Africa sent a hell of a strong team. There obviously are 1 or 2 key individuals not playing, but at the same time, it's a strong team. The line did move, though. It came sort of from 12.5, 9.5. At one stage, I saw a bookie with 7.5, but generally speaking, seems to be Argentina plus 10.5 now. And against South Africa, we've also got a point sign here, 51.5. I see Southpaw in the forum going for the overs. And check conditions on this game. It's an early kickoff, from what I understand, and conditions look good. Although it's a hot day, it's not a humid day, and that is very, very important. So points could well be in play here. But let's get the Oracle's views on this one. Gav, Argentina plus 10.5. I was impressed with them against Australia, but can they do it now against South Africa?
Okay, so you called it an early game. So it's actually, I think they're 5 hours behind, Brent. This is a 9 o'clock kickoff for South Africa, 2100. So 5 hours after, below that is a 4 o'clock kickoff, which the sun will still be shining. In fact, the sun will probably be out for most of the first half, if not going into the second half. So yes, it is an early game. Yeah, it's not a nighttime game, correct. And so again, people asking me what I think about it. So after I told them, the 3 guys that asked me this week, told them about the Lions, they said, so we're talking about South Africa. So right, I'll tell you this much. I'm not taking minus here. I'm going to tell you to back Argentina on the board. Why? Because you're getting 7-2, 4-1 if you look around. I think that's value about a team that can win this game. And when I said South Africa sent half a team, I'm not going to go into minor decimals here and say they sent 0.835 of a team. It's not a full team. It's not the best team we've got. And it's obviously not the worst team. So, half a team is somewhere in the middle. Yeah, it's probably 75, 82, whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is it's not a full team. Not the best team we've got that we could put up. So then my mates, or again, I'm going to say all 3 because they actually spoke the same language. Different people didn't communicate with each other. They go, so you want to back Argentina plus? I said, no. They said, why not? I said, because I'm getting 9-10. I would rather go and take 3-1, 7-2, 4-1. In other words, have a price. Put my $100 down, 1,000 rand down, whatever you punt, and go, if I get this right, I'm getting a couple of grand, 3, 4, 5 grand, whatever you've taken. But taking 9-10 in this game for me is actually a coin toss because it feels right. It feels like it's what should happen in this game. I just think that there's more value. Let's put it this way. The opposite of taking Argentina on the board at, again, I don't know the price. I'm guessing it's 7-2, 4-1 based on the handicap, and I don't think I'm wrong there. But let's take South Africa minus 20, which should be around about the same price as Argentina to win on the board. Now, if you say to me, you want to take South Africa minus 19, let's say 20 or more, say South Africa minus 19, Argentina to win the board.
In fact, Gav, let me go. I'll give you a price. That's 7-2. They're 7-2 to win the game, Argentina. If you want to take, and I'm interested in this point you're making. I haven't thought about it like this. If you want to take the same price, South Africa minus 25.5.
Okay, so based on the handicap and the board price, the points to board, 10 points, you'd expect minus 19 or minus 20 to be the same price. So I'm going to tell you right now, if you've got to take minus 24 to get the same price Argentina to win on the board at plus 10, I'm going to tell you to back Argentina. Will they lose? Can they lose? Of course they can. They probably will lose, but you're getting a price here. This is about value. You want to back South Africa at minus 19, I'm telling you, of course they can win by that, but the probability of South Africa winning by 20 or more, 21 or more is far less than Argentina winning this game on the board. They've won it before. They've just come off 2 big victories. We can't forget that. They beat New Zealand in New Zealand. They absolutely obliterated Australia. We don't get enough media in South Africa, rugby media. You go to all those rugby websites in South Africa, even overseas. No one's reading the rugby websites in Argentina. We don't know what they're saying about their team. We don't look at that stuff. We don't know how they feel. We just think we South Africa, they New Zealand. Oh, it's just Argentina. We've beaten them before. And Henrik will remember the day I wore an Argentinian shirt and I punted them at 22-10. And that night I was actually confident they were going to win. Here, I'm not confident they're going to win. I'm saying they can win. I'm telling you the value is backing Argentina to win this game on the board. You can't go broke. It's a big price. I'm telling you, if you've got the handicap right, if you know which way that's going on the handicap, good luck to you. I'm not interested. I'd rather take a big price, smaller stake, and enjoy my Argentinian breakfast on Sunday morning because they can win this game, and they can. They can. Of course, they can win this game.
They've definitely got a chance. I agree. And even just looking at the guys in the live chat, lots of, no one's really, there's a couple of firmly guys in the Bok camp. There's a couple in Argentina. So I'm going to throw a bet out there. And Johanna, I know you sometimes go for the 1-12s. And a lot of guys, that David coming in now saying Boks love a close game. So a bet, and I'll stress, I don't. This is like what I would call a 2-unit play for me. It's box by 1 to 12 points inclusive. You can get 17 to 10. I've just had a look now at that. That's another one where if you don't fancy either side, you think the handicap is fairly accurate, or you think South Africa going to continue their trend for narrow victories. I like that box 1 to 12 for me at 17 to 10.
I want to ask you a question on that, Brent. So what's more painful? Argentina winning by 1 or South Africa winning by 13? Which one feels more painful after taking that bet?
Well, as a South African, I'm going to say Argentina by 1, but purely because I like the box to win the game. So I'll tell you that, I mean, I've had this conversation with guys before, Gab, so I won't go into too much, but the problem with that bet is you're never safe. Like if you go over 34.5 you go over 34.5 New Zealand points and they score their 35th point in the 63rd minute, you can relax, you've won your bet. You've never won this bet until the final whistle goes, because you're always 7 points away from possible defeat. So that's the negative side of it. Having said that, I mean, we only have to look at those New Zealand South Africa tests where they're any team by 7 or less, for example. And you're also close to losing that game unless the sides are drawing going into the last minute or whatever. But I mean, that arrived in both. You can just see they were going to be close, you know.
I see scenes asking half-time Arge, full-time South Africa. I want to tell you go the opposite scene. Go first half South Africa, full-time Argentina. And that should be close to 10 or 12 to 1. I mean, that could be a big price. In fact, it could be 14 to 1.
Gav, I'm not going to open up the debate, but I did have a chuckle at this comment from my Bluetooth screen. Remember, folks, Oracle doesn't look at the players. My Bluetooth screen, we're definitely not going into that one again. But I get the feeling Oracle's ready for these games, I must admit, based on his opinions here tonight. Argentina says Farid fared badly against structure, and Box have built a team for structured play. I tend to be, Farid, you know, these Argentine teams interesting. Even if you watch them against Australia last week, they're a confidence team, this Argentinian side. And when they do get on top of you in a game, they actually, yes, they played some brilliant rugby last week against Aussies, as they did against New Zealand. You know, the challenge for them is also they're not the sort of side to generally string good games together in a row. That being said, I'm expecting this Argentina side to, you know, this is their home game against the Box. I think they're going to throw everything at this one. And I like Argentina on the cap, but for now I'm leaning towards the 1 to 12. Seen is saying you can get 12 to 1 gap. South Africa to lead at half time, Argentina full time.
You can't go broke at that price.
That's right. And then
sorry, I just want to say something to I want to say something to Farid there. He's right when they play 2 games in a row. But what we've got to realize, and you just made that technical mistake, you said last week. It wasn't last week. It was the week before. Right. So there's been 2 weeks here. And that is a massive difference in rugby. I 100% agree with what Farid said. When they play 2 games on the bounce, Saturday onto the following Saturday, this break thing is a massive thing. South Africa's, and remember, they've been at home for 3 weeks now, or 4 weeks. They haven't got on a plane in a hell of a long time. And if they've got on a plane, it's been a local flight, like a Durban-Joburg 1-hour flight. This is not heavy traveling for them. We've had to come back from Australia, and now we've got to go to them. We're the travelers here, not them. They're ready for us.
Farid is saying even with the gap, they don't play 2 in a row. But Gav, I'm 100% with you on that one. I'm not saying that they're going to play 2 good games in a row, but it is different when you play straight after the week before. Now you've had time to gather yourself, and I totally agree with you. And in fact, very much in agreement with you. I think this is actually going to be a cracking test match. And 51.5 points. Southpaw's on the points here. Conditions good. You know, this Argentina side, it does seem like a side that can get involved in high-scoring encounters. But as Farid did say, I think it was Farid was saying about the box structures. You know, the box might be content just to grind this one out. What's your feeling there? I know you're not necessarily an overs punter or a points punter. You'd rather look at individual teams. But even catch either, you're looking at probably also 20.5 Argentina and probably 31.5 South Africa.
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you, Brent, in this case, yes, going over points is a runner because, sure, I expect both teams to score. Absolutely. Can Argentina, or should I say, do we expect Argentina to score more than 20 points at home? Absolutely. South Africa, can they score 30 points? Of course they can. So yeah, an overs punt here, I would say, because both teams are good enough to beat their individual expectations. So I would be an overs punter in this case. 51's too low for this game. I expect more than that.
Right. Well, lots to look forward to there in the Rugby Championship. Let's move on to what we've already been told is the game of the week.
The game of the week.
The game of the week. And then we got Lions -3.5 versus the Sharks. A points line here of 49.5, guys. And if you think that's true, then I'm sorry you don't know your rugby. I just did that to tease the punters. There's no points line yet. It's -3.5 Sharks. But I could picture, guys, when they saw that 49.5, absolutely scrambling for the overs. Last week, Gav, I had a bad week. I had a bigger bet than normal on the Lions because I thought the market would move. It did, but I didn't trade out. I held on to my -10.5. They got 14 ahead eventually, and then blew it. The Bulls, I didn't expect as big a move, but I took the -3.5. The line also moved to 6.5. But yeah, fortunately, I didn't, because I was quite involved in the handicaps. I didn't follow my thoughts too heavily on the points because I actually thought that the quotes were quite high last week, and I thought we'd get unders. In both games, the points absolutely flowed. And I can see why the bookies are a little bit nervous to put the points line out here. I think we're going to get even though it's a final, I think we're going to get 58.5 here, guys, as far as the points line goes. Gav, I handicapped this game, I think 3.5 as well, and that's pretty much where it's been all week, -2.5, -3.5. What's going to happen in the biggest match of the weekend?
Okay, so let's start with the 2011 game. I've got to do a bit of Currie Cup history here. So I'm a Currie Cup fan. In fact, the 1992 game, I think it was the first one between these two, or 93, I can't remember, was one of those. I didn't go to the 2011 game, but one of my mates said to me it was the worst Currie Cup final he's ever watched or attended because he was a Sharks fan. And I was on Good Hope FM that morning talking to Mark Keone. And I said to him, whatever double-digit minus you can get on the Lions, take it. And if you remember the weeks before that, the Sharks hadn't played their Springbok players. And of course, we didn't. We lost that game against Australia in the 2011 World Cup, and I still made the joke as Bucky's Buerta and Victor Matfield on the plane, and they're crying because we've lost to Australia. And Victor says to Bucky's, "Don't worry, there's a Currie Cup." And Butch James taps him on the shoulder and says, "The Oaks aren't in the semi-final, so you can't win it this year." That was 2011. Anyway, so the Lions go into that game against the Sharks and they 9-10. I couldn't believe it. I said to people, take double-digit minus here. The Lions will absolutely murder the Sharks team. It was a fantastic game to watch. I wasn't there. I did watch it on TV, but my Sharks mates will tell you it's the worst. They felt more pain that day than they did in the 2007 Super Rugby final. That was horrible for them because everybody was back. There was a Bok-laden Sharks team. Anyway, I was at the 2015 final, a bit of a debacle because I know this weekend they're playing the Currie Cup final on the same day South Africa plays. Yes, they're playing at 9 o'clock at night. But that 2015 game, we were playing New Zealand in the semi-final of the World Cup. They put the game at 1:30 in the afternoon. It was horrific. I'd booked it months in advance. Expecting the Lions to get there. In fact, the Lions were 2-1 to win the Currie Cup that year. I climbed into that. Absolutely climbed into it. Loved it. Rain, drizzle, and expected 10. That's fantastic for rugby, actually, especially in Joburg. But anyway, this is a...
The 10 degrees is great, but the drizzle might be an issue if you're an overs punter.
Correct, absolutely. But I don't think at Currie Cup level and with the quality of the sides, I don't think that's a problem. 51 should be a doddle, actually. I don't think it'd be too hard. The only thing, obviously, is the bonus pointers out there. I do expect the Lions to win this game. I must be honest, I was a little bit surprised when I saw 3.5. I honestly thought this would be closer to 10. But at the same time, it is a final, and this Sharks team has been fantastic. They've come out of absolutely nowhere. I wrote them off at the beginning. In fact, I expected Cheetahs to win this tournament. So I've completely switched around. Excuse me, Brenton. I'll say one thing. Last week, I was very bullish on the minus until I found out that Steyn was involved in the coaching. Now, that guy spent a lot of time with Rassie. And I know I was punting rugby early 2000s when Rassie had his lights at the top of the stadium. I'm going to tell you, anybody who spent a couple of months with Rassie Erasmus coaching is going to be better than the next coach. So had I known that, I would have told you last week. And again, going back to my Blutus Groen. Not knowing players, never mind not knowing coaches. Yes, I have paid my price over the time. So I would have gone plus Cheetahs last week, knowing that Steyn was involved. I think he's going to be a great coach. I don't know where he'll get to finally, but I was very impressed with him. And when he jumped in, the Cheetahs did switch around slightly. So in summary, I'm expecting the Lions to win this game, and we'll go back to probabilities. I think that the Lions have a higher probability of winning this game by more than 10 than the Sharks do of winning this game by more than 5. So I'm looking at the handicap 3. Okay, it was 5 at 4, whatever. I'm just saying that I would rather take a higher Lions minus here than backing the Sharks to win this game, or even to win it by 5 or 6 or more. I think the value's in taking a bigger minus, take a -9, -11, -12. I think that's where the value is. Lions can win this game comfortably. They're at home. Yes, obviously adverse weather will affect that, but for me, Lions win this game. You want to take the 6-10. Lions win this Currie Cup, and they hold the trophy and they win it. Simple. Lions.
Right. Okay. Lions on that one. I'm certainly going to be keeping a close eye on the weather. Just to give you a couple of prices, you do the Lions on the extended handicap, the 19-10. Lions minus 10.5 there. Meanwhile, a couple of guys in the live chat just giving some bets on other sport. Cowboys +6 tomorrow morning against the Sharks. Dave, I'm not even going to lie. Is that rugby league or is that NFL?
No, that'll be TNF. Thursday night football.
Thursday night
American
football.
football.
Okay.
TNF.
And then just to bring Farid's one up, of course, the NPC, neither Gav or I really followed. Although I've got the only winning bet I placed last weekend, believe it or not, was on the NPC. Sorry, my battery's going flat. I better just plug it in. Sorry. The only winning bet I played last week was a halftime play on the NPC. Maybe I'll have a look at the NPC this weekend. But any other bets you guys fancy, have a look. I'm just gonna run through the games quickly, just as a matter of interest before we get into the best bets. We of course do have the URC. Tomorrow night we got Cardiff against Zebra, -16.5. Cardiff points on a 51.5. Edinburgh against Leinster, +7.5. Edinburgh and a points on a 50.5. I know I've heard a lot of guys say Edinburgh are going to have a good season, but I'm going to have a good look at those tonight. Have you looked at anything on the URC card, or you like me haven't had a chance to get your head around it yet?
No, I did look at a couple, but Brent, I wanted to point out something else completely out of the minds of people watching this or following this URC. And I think, we see it in tennis quite a lot. They get buys. The player doesn't have to play a game to get to play the winner of another game in the next round for whatever reason. Now, this South African teams not playing in this first week of URC has to be in their favor. You've got a case where you can see, who you're playing next week. You get to watch them and not put any effort in. And I know that match fitness is match fitness, but South Africa's got to be an advantage at this. I think it's poor timing. I don't even know what's gone wrong here, but I don't think the system is right. I think everybody should be playing. I mean, can you imagine the EPL or the Champions League in a soccer format, or even a Rugby World Cup where players get a full bye and they get to watch all the other bigger teams play? I think it's skewed in our favor. And I think the fresh South African teams coming into week 2, the following week, I think we will be more likely to win our games than the prices suggest. On looking at this, I'm going to tell you that Edinburgh at 22-10, 5-2, that's value. That puts us at I'm guessing a +8 or 9. I'm going to tell you Edinburgh plus is value. I wouldn't touch that Zebra game.
Up for you if you want.
Yeah. I'll tell you. You know what? I like First Thought as well. It's funny. It might not mean much to other people, but I look at something and I give it a first thought, and that's often our punt. So my Blutus Groen will probably hate the way I'm punting on these things here, but I'm happy to have a go just on what looks wrong and what doesn't look wrong. I'm trying to get this bigger. I can't. Let me just see if I can find some.
Bottom right of your screen. If you click, are you on your computer or your phone, Gav?
I see you got 16. Is that first game 16? Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah. Cardiff minus 16.5.
Yeah. I don't know what to do there. Zebra could be smashed properly. I would say out of that game, Edinburgh for me +7, +6, +8, sort of that range. I'd go Edinburgh on the board at. Sorry, I had it here a second ago. Did you say 3-1, 2-1,
2-1,
22-10?
Might be better.
Yeah, 5-2. That's the ranges. That's value for me. Gwent, always used to call that team Gwent.
Yeah, the Dragons are +6.5 against Ospreys, and I'll give you a bet on this one. Comment on it, and then I'll give you a bet from the forum.
So that's the derby, and neither have impressed, and I'm very surprised to see a sub 5-10 away favourite. Excuse me, what looks like what is that 6 as well? Yeah, I'm likely to take the +6.5 here, or not have a bet. I wouldn't take the minus away team. I think that Connacht plus is a good bet at 10, double digits. I'm happy with that. Benetton, I'm going to tell you, go minus. And not many minus teams, but that one looks right for me. It's, again, below 10. I'm happy. Also in Glasgow, I'm going to tell you Glasgow on the board. They could win, and there's a bit of value there. So, yeah, to summarize, Cardiff, I'd stay out of that one. Edinburgh on the board, bit of value. Gwent plus, Newport plus, sorry. Connacht plus, Benetton minus, and Glasgow on the board. Small, very small. One unit or less.
No problem. I'm going to give you one bet from the forum, and there is a link to the forum thread down below where guys have already been commenting on a lot of the NPC games and talking betting this weekend. He's certainly one of our most popular forum punters, a very shrewd punter indeed, Pablo. And he said under 48.5 points in the Ospreys game. Sorry, not Escobar. I've read the Sun's book, by the way. But anyway, under 48.5. And look, we can see the line is into 46.5. But he said weather looks really bad in Newport. He thought the line would be 42, 43, even in normal conditions. So he reckons this could be a really low-scoring encounter. So that's his bet there at 46.5. Let's just quickly pop to the chat. Fareed agreeing with you. He reckons Benetton's great value. Chris, I think, making a wise comment there. He's saying too much rugby for me this weekend. So he's just stuck to the rugby champs and the Currie Cup. And I think from a betting point of view, I'll largely do that, although I am going to have a look and we'll post some bets. And obviously,
sorry, I just want to reply to Chris there, actually, to say that if you've got 100% of your money, so whatever the total is, and you go, all right, so what am I doing this weekend? I'm going to tell you that 40 to 60% is going on the Currie Cup, 20 to 30%, I don't know the exact number, is going on those other games, and there'll be bits and pieces for the rest. So, yes, when I'm calling Edinburgh on the board, it's chump change. It's from my weekly punting float, it's tiny. So, absolutely. For me, the focus is the Currie Cup. That's my biggest bet. I will get involved in Argentina. Everything. Listen, everybody that's watching the show, I've always said this, and I sat with a guy called Rudolph in, I can't remember his surname actually, doing futures trading at Global Trader in the early 2000s. And he had this like on a 25-minute to 40-minute phone call, and he's telling the guy, buy this, buy that, sell this. And afterwards I said to him, how much you got in that? How much you got in that? He goes, nothing. I said, bro, how can you tip somebody if you haven't got money in your own skin in the game? So, yes, everybody watching me, I'm having a bet on these things. I'm not going to tell you to punt something or tell you I am punting something and I'm not punting it. So, yes, I'm on. You've got to look at the games, how you like them, and spread your money around. But you can't be listening to people that aren't prepared to put their own money, take their own money out of a wallet and have a bet themselves.
Okay, no, I'm with you there. And even it doesn't have to be a big amount or anything like that. There's just got to be a little bit of.
Everyone's got their unit. Everyone's unit is their price. Yeah.
Or alternatively, be upfront about it and say, listen, guys, I'm on a betting break, for example. I'm not betting this weekend for whatever reason. Because the moment people know you've got your own money on it, they definitely do take it more seriously. And I always said that. I mean, I've sent out the old newsletter bets. And I mean, I've been on a hell of a good run until last week when I absolutely went belly up. But yes, I always feel so terrible when the newsletter bet loses. And it's twofold. On the one hand, because I've now, I've made a real strong case and it hasn't come off. On the other hand, I also backed the bloody thing, so I'm feeling a little bit sore afterwards. And I must say, I had a rough weekend. It was our 25th wedding anniversary, so that saved me money because I didn't get more involved in the Bulls game on unders or anything. But had a hell of a rough night, so I felt a little bit tender on Sunday, and then I logged on and saw my balances with the bookmakers of the Lions and the Bulls game, and let's just say it was a Sunday that I spent on the couch trying to sleep as much as I can. Sean coming in and you leading us nicely, Sean, into the best bets. New Zealand and Lions minuses for him this weekend. Gav, we're coming towards the end of this one. What are your best bets for the weekend? I don't think the audience would probably have too much trouble guessing, but if you had to rank your bets, I know your staking plan is obviously Currie Cup Rugby Championships, but if you had to now take the staking plan out and just say, right, let's assume I was just going to say, what is my most solid play?
My most solid play, Brent, is Lions to lift the trophy. I know that I have a general rule that I follow, and I say I follow it almost 100%, is I don't go under 7 at 10, so 1.7 for the decimal punters. But I got to tell you, at 6 to 10, the Lions here to win this tournament, 0.63, 0.65, that sort of number. It's a two-horse race. I'm okay. Have I taken that bet in a tennis match? Absolutely, I have. I don't like to go below 0.7 or 1.7 for that matter for decimal people. But I got to tell you, I like Lions to win this game. Can they win by more than 10? I do like that. And I will take a bit of a higher minus. I'll probably take a 14 or 12. Haven't decided yet. Bit of a strike. But my main bet is Lions to lift this trophy. I'm expecting to get 0.7 or 0.65. I'm happy with that number. It's for me, it's more than what I should be getting. I should be getting about 0.3 or 0.4. So in my head, I'm getting far more value. So yes, Lions, if you have one bet this weekend, back the Lions to win the Currie Cup. That's good enough. The rest, unfortunately, Argentina can win. South Africa can win by 20. Australia can win the first half. New Zealand can win by 40 and overall. Those are all, they're hard to predict. Lions winning this game, yes, I know I'll get the people telling me I'm biased. I'm not biased. This has been a great Lions team, and they're playing a very good Sharks team, but I think they've gone one game too far. Lions to win the Currie Cup on the board, and be very careful. This is one more thing I'm going to tell you. Be very careful when you take your bet, lift the cup. Don't take the 80 minutes, and if you do, put some money on the draw as well, because draws happen in games like this. Don't punt
last week
yeah, exactly. Don't punt a team and then go, hang on a second, and you see the result or you see the headline, because the media don't talk like bookmakers and punters. I'll tell you, Lions lift the trophy or Sharks lift the trophy or Bulls lift the trophy, but you don't realize that there's been some extra time involved. And when you log into your betting account, you're a little bit less. There's less ZAR in your account than you thought there was in the beginning of the day. So if you are going to take a 80-minute bet, put some money on the draw. Alternatively, the best way to do it is to actually get a lift the cup bet.
Right, now fair enough. I agree with you. Otherwise, you find yourself sweating on the draw. The newsletter will be out tomorrow. I'm not sure where I'm leaning yet. I am a little bit like someone who's come out of a couple of rounds with Drickus Duplessis, so I'm wobbling a little bit, but I'm feeling a bit more confident after chatting to Gab on the show. Link to that in the description box below. And then the previous slide that I just brought up there, I wanted to make a point of this because last week, for the first time, I put this disclaimer on. I said, hey, guys, we punters, we're not giving financial advice. And thank God I did it last week, because I gave absolutely the worst financial advice you ever got in your life.
I was just going to say, last week I was talking about gold at 2,500. Well, this week it almost got to 2,600. So, yeah, follow the gold price. That's where the money is.
Now, you and I've had you've corresponded with me about the gold price in the week. And I know you're not on Twitter anymore, but I was going to, if you were, I would have tagged you and I was going to say to the guys, okay, here's my bet. Gavin is going to bring up the gold price at least once tonight. And I'm absolutely shocked that you waited to this long in the program.
I waited till extra time. We're drawn 7-7 now. I just scored.
I've no doubt that Walter White's got a big night ahead of him, selling some of his product in the streets there. The history between the Lions and the Sharks in the Currie Cup finals reveals that the away team has been victorious in 4 finals. Okay, interesting. Yeah, so,
it's funny, Brent, because one of the guys at work said to me, "Can I help him on Saturday afternoon?" And I said to him,
"Yes.
You do know the Currie Cup finals at 4:00, right?" And he's looking at me going, "Okay, I need your help at 2, not 4." I said, "Exactly." So yes, I will be watching that. I love Currie Cup. I've been to 3 of them, so I can't say I've been to a lot of them, but 3's a decent amount. I love it. I just love it. And in fact, I would have loved to have been at the Kimberley one 2 years ago when the Pumas won. That would have been a great game to watch. But yeah, Currie Cup final, I love it. I get up for it every time. Happy. It's actually my youngest son's birthday. We're doing an early lunch, so we'll be back by the kickoff. But yes, if I'm still awake, I'll watch South Africa. Otherwise, I'm happy. If I've only watched the Currie Cup on Saturday, I'm happy.
I just wanted to mention this because, Walter, I'm pleased you brought this up. It actually was about 5 minutes ago, I got distracted. I was going to bring this up. Northcliffe High, a school down the road, my kids went to their rivals, Rampart High. So it hurts me to say this, but brilliant from Northcliffe High. They've got the 2 brothers playing, but there's also, and Walter, perhaps you remember his name. I've just forgotten it. I think it's a double-barreled surname, the lock for the Lions. He's also a Northcliffe old boy. So it's quite impressive for let's say, a local co-ed school, not one of the bigger boys' schools, to have 3 players playing in the Currie Cup final. I think very well done to Northcliffe there. They are going to get beaten by Rampart next year, by the way, but that's a totally different story. But anyway, Lekker Gav, it's been great having you on. Thanks to all the guys in the live chat. A pleasure as always. And yeah, we'll be in contact over the weekend, Gav. When you send me a voice note, I'll have to think carefully now. Is this about the Currie Cup or the gold price? And take a little punt for myself. Have a good one, man. And I can just, sorry, last thought. I can picture you at the birthday with your son. You know, everyone's having a nice time, but it's 3:00. The kid's having a great time. His friends are enjoying themselves, the family, and you're just going to say, right, that's it. Gold, please. We're out of here. We're going to go watch the Currie Cup final.
Yes, which is what I've noticed a lot of staff parties have got to over the years. I've realized that I like to call them overlords. So the bosses, they go, well, the party's over. I'm paying the bill. I'm going home. And what these overlords don't realize is the party goes on for another 5 hours after they left. Yes, it's on their own money, but it doesn't switch the party off, which I think a lot of people think that they do. So yes, I can see what I'm going to do at 3:15 is I'm going to tell my kids I'm going home, and if mum isn't going to be driving us, I'll grab an Uber. I'll hit the nearest pub if we're far away from home, or I'll go straight home. You guys can carry on with the party. I'm going to watch rugby. Absolutely. Love Currie Cup. I've always loved it. And I know that it's been diluted and all that crap, but I still love it every single year. Get up for it. I love it.
It's a great tournament. And I just like to say, I think when the overlords leave, yeah, the party probably even improves once they're gone because people don't have to watch.
Absolutely. In fact, I remember one occasion where I sent a mail around the office inviting people to my place for a braai. And I purposefully left them out. And I said, you know, one guy came to me and said, well, you know, why didn't you send this to me? I said, bro, if the bosses come to the party, people don't behave the way they normally behave. And I don't want that. So, you know, people do change their behavior when the bosses are in the room or in the party. So if I have a staff party, I prefer to leave them out and that's a different party on its own. So that's how I am. Anyway, enjoy the weekend, Brent. Thanks very much. Cheers, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Cheers, everyone.